Chris Level here with another edition of Pirate Talk, our potentially final edition of 2023. Unfortunately, with Chip Darden here, Chris Level, Colton Coos behind the camera. It's been we had the holiday and everything like that, but prior to that, obviously the Pirates had a tough game against Aledo. Their season comes to an end, and man, I'm sitting there. It's 35-31 late in the third. And this thing is a beautiful high school football game from the standpoint of high-level competition, and just couldn't quite get over that hump after you were down, I think, what was it, 34-17?
Yep.
Or 35-17, excuse me. But then you cut it to 4, and boy, I thought, here, game on, here we go.
Yeah, our kids battled, and, I think all of our teams in the past have gone into every game expecting to win. I don't think there's been whether it be a state semifinals or first game of the season, whatever. I think since I've been here in 15 years, I think we've expected to win every game. But that one is hard to get the buy-in, or I don't know about hard, but I just felt like our kids, there was disappointment after the game because they thought they should win. And I was proud of that. I was proud of how they approached it. I was proud of their preparation throughout the week, that it wasn't a preparation of how do we stay in this game, how do we keep it close. They've won 11 state championships. It was we belong on the field, and that was kind of the phrase that we used all week. It's not a we believe, it's a we belong. And that's how they approached it. And, at halftime, they'll probably tell you it was one of the more animated halftimes I've had with them, because we didn't think we played that well in the first half, and we're down 11, and that's not where we expected to be. But I was really proud of their fight. We couldn't give up. We needed to start with a lead, or we needed to be right in it, and we get down 14-0, and I think that's pretty easy to check it in against them. I think a lot of teams do. Ours didn't. Tied it up at 14, and then in the half getting a field goal, 28-17, and then kind of the key there was we got stopped on that first drive coming out, and they go score, but they kept battling. That's the thing that Aledo does most of the time. When they get up 14-0 on somebody, or they get up 35-17, it's lights out, game's over. They're going to run away with it, and our guys didn't let that happen. Our guys kept battling and gave ourselves a chance to win. I think had we said, you're losing the turnover battle, just some things that had happened, would you take being down by 4 with 9 minutes to go? And you probably say, yeah, if all that happens, we'll put ourselves there and see if we can have a chance to win. And right there, but hats off to them. Really, really good team. But I'd go to battle with our guys anytime.
Yeah, Aledo would the following week would go on to beat Red Oak, and I guess they play Abilene this weekend. What do you take from that game? Is there anything other than the fight? But because you that sounds bad, but you close the gap a bit compared to a year ago. It doesn't do anybody any good.
Right.
It's not about closing the gap. It's about winning. You would say that more so than anybody, but it's got to be a sign of improvement in some ways that you were in that game, whereas last year that game kind of gets away from you in a hurry.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's the deal. Our coaching staff spent the off season,
because you did run the ball really, really well.
We did, and we spent the off season not necessarily saying, okay, how do we beat Aledo? It's how do we win a state championship? Well, in our classification, in our division, if you want to win a state championship, you got to beat Aledo, and that's kind of so. No, everything's not about beating Aledo, but at the same time, it kind of is also. So we spent a lot of the offseason as a coaching staff. I was proud of them for kind of how we prepped, how we changed what we were doing, and then we still, right now, I think we've got some things that we've got to do better that maybe aren't visible, that are day-to-day stuff, that stuff like right now that we've got to do better, and started working on that stuff, and I think that'll help. But our goal is to win state championships and to be playing at Jerry World, and that's, we'll continue to strive to get there. But at the same time, it's not a one team wins it. There's one team in 5A Division I going to win it. That doesn't mean the other 150 don't have successful seasons. It doesn't define our success, but that's what you want to do. It's what you want to do in life. You want to strive to be the best and be the most successful. So we'll continue to do that, and I think we've got a group of kids that's that way. They're hungry. They weren't pleased with it. So I like going to battle with guys like that.
Yeah, it's not like college where a bunch of teams get to win their last game in a bowl system.
Right.
Yeah, there's only one team that gets to win their
Yep.
their final one. But it's hard if you just judge it based off of that. Boy, there's going to be a lot of disappointment in the
Absolutely.
world. I mean, and that's hard. That's not really fair.
Yep.
What do you guys like Cal Ritz and Jaden Hibbler and some of these guys that meant so much to this particular team? What is it hard when you look at them in the locker room the final time? And I'm sure that they're probably processing. And I mean, take me through that dynamic, because that always gets me, man, in the sports heart.
Yeah.
When this is it.
Right.
And this group will never be together the same
Yep.
ever again, and that's always hard for me to process in those moments.
Yeah, it is.
you-
And I told them this, that honest, I have had situations where going into a game, I had in my mind, all right, if this doesn't go our way, here's what I can kind of talk to them about. And, I knew the odds were stacked against us. And I told them that Friday night in Wichita Falls, said, I wasn't prepped to talk to you guys about this, because I just knew we were winning this game. And that makes it a little tougher. But it's funny on that. In senior night's the same way. There's always one or two guys that you catch them as you're talking to them, and it gets you. It tugs at you a little bit. The guys have given a lot. It's hard to play. It's hard to win. The stuff that they do. I think people think of the hour and a half practice that we have every day. Throughout the year. That's a fraction of what they have done to put themselves in a position to be going toe to toe with Aledo. I mean, it's for a lot of them a lifetime of stuff that's put them in this position, and some of them. That was their last high school or last football game. A lot of them last high school football game, but some of them last football game they'll ever play. So it is tough. Kids like, I've got a soft heart for a kid like Chris Carrillo that, man, has done everything right, and the game of football just wasn't real fair to him throughout his 4 years of high school. And he continued to lead, and, he turned into Coach Carrillo as we went on. And but, and I could go through and name a whole lot of kids like Holton Hendricks that just, man, they were 4-year varsity football players that gave a whole lot to the program and did a whole lot, I think, to represent our community in a positive way.
Yeah, that's what coaching's all about too, man. Because they take these experiences and these lessons, and they go on and hopefully
Right.
they're good men and dads and
And
husbands and all that kind of stuff.
And I think that's what's neat. Like you mentioned, Jaden Hibbler, who has been at Lubbock Cooper for less than a full calendar year, and then you got Sam Marcinkowski, who I've coached. His brother was on varsity for 3 years, and just the mix of guys and their contribution and kind of how they meshed. And I think this team, was fun to see how that mesh and how that worked together. But we also, as coaches, and it may sound bad towards the seniors, it's not, but we're so process oriented that it's. All right, it's over. All right, now how do we get better at the process? What do we need to do to make sure that we're not having this conversation? And right now we're talking about a regional final and what we're doing practice-wise to get ready for this regional final as compared to moving on to off-season. So that's kind of where our minds are, and I think our guys that are coming back are excited about doing that.
Yeah, and one more thing about Hibbler. This is the way this was supposed to work, because I think Lubbock Cooper was and Lubbock Cooper football was great for Jaden Hibbler, but Jaden Hibbler was great for Lubbock Cooper football.
Absolutely.
I mean, it worked both ways, but he was so much fun to watch. So many guys, but this was a newcomer, and and all those things. Speaking of, how does when does everybody find out about the all district stuff? How does any of that work with what you can say? I don't educate us.
Yeah, all district stuff was voted on. That's always voted on after the last district game. Coaches nominate and go through a voting process, and it's always really neat for our kids that get all district, and it's appreciated. At the same time, there's politics and there's stuff involved.
Imperfect.
We think some guys get the short end, and it is what it is. we'll recognize our guys. But that stuff, district rules state that it doesn't need to be released until the last team in our district is finished playing. Abilene High plays this week, so as soon as they're out, we'll release all that information. But we thought some guys were well represented. Thought there were a few guys that maybe could have been on a higher team or should have been a little more recognized, but that's part of it too.
Okay. Yeah, it's just I know that once the season wraps up, you start looking at it, be able to look back and appreciate some of the accolades that some of your individual guys did.
Yeah, and the all-state stuff as well. Like those nominations usually start happening here pretty quick, but that's usually January before that stuff comes out.
Okay. What is the next between now and Christmas? What does the next several weeks look like for guys that'll stay in football? And then I'm guessing you have a lot of guys that we're going to go move on and do a different sport or this time of year. What does that look like for you guys? Yeah,
expectation from us is that we want guys that multiple sports. Like we want them competing with the LCP on their chest. We there's AAU basketball, there's 7-on-7 leagues, there's all that stuff, but we want them competing for us. So we want them to do other sports. But here these next 3 weeks, most of our guys are going to go through an off season that we're gonna do. We're gonna get better, and that was kind of the approach that we had with our guys. Is we've got a 3-week period that we would love to be playing football. Since we're not, we got to take that opportunity to get better. And I think last year that was maybe an area that I failed the team. I don't know that we got a whole lot better in these 3 weeks. We kind of took a deep breath and coasted into the Christmas break, and we're gonna get better. And I think our guys have already approached it the right way. But and then really when we get into January, we start splitting up with baseball getting going, and so we'll have guys kind of spread all over the place with baseball, basketball, a lot of our guys are starting to wrestle, so. We love it. Love for them to go compete and go be a part of other sports and help our school in any way that they can. And then the guys that aren't doing that, we'll really focus early on with weights. We got to get stronger. I mean, you can see that playing a team like Aledo, fast speed and strength that you can always improve. I tell the guys all the time when I'm talking about track that I've never heard anybody say that kid can't play football because he's too fast. Same with strength. You can't be too strong. You can't be too fast. So we'll do kind of have a focus on that and then head towards spring ball. But it'll be a good few weeks of us really getting after it, and I think kind of seeing what our younger kids, who's going to step up and be leaders, who's going to take captain roles and things like that. You always start figuring that out this time of year.
Yeah, usually bigger, faster, stronger wins. And especially in your sport. I just saw a recent example of that myself in person. Take me through. There's a lot of I don't even know how to approach this conversation, but there's a lot of speculation out there about what district your program will be in next year.
Yeah.
Is it gonna? When we see the snapshot day, which is in October, when this is how many students are in this school. Everybody's projecting and all these things, Division I 5A, Division II 5A. So let's just stop right there. Do you have any feel for that yet? And I think there's this thing called the opt-up and all that stuff. So I'm just going to kind of give you the floor and let you explain. Yeah. While you don't know the finality of this, I want you to kind of explain so people out there can get accurate info here.
Yeah, so the official date that we will know what district we're in, all sports, not just football, is I think they just released it February 1st, I believe. That's a Thursday. What the UIL will release that. Back in the day, you had no idea. I mean, if you were close, like we're going to be.
Show up and got an envelope.
You got an envelope, you open it up, and then it's kind of like stock market movies, like people looking for games and yelling, and it's kind of chaos. It's calmed down. It's not quite like that. And one of the things that the UIL did that's really good is they release numbers. So sometime this week or next week, they should release, here's 6A. 6A's from, 2,300 kids and above. 5A Division I is going to be this. And so we will know about what our district will be. We'll know what classification we're going to be. It helps with scheduling. You don't have to do all your scheduling on February 1st. You can kind of start looking at all that. So, but projections, there's some people that do this stuff that have done it for a long time. Carl Padilla calls himself the godfather of high school football. He is fairly accurate. Kind of the way the UIL starts it is they get the top 250 enrollment in the state, and that's 6A. That's where they start, 6A, and then they move down and try to even it, based on keeping, equal numbers in all the divisions. But you mentioned opt-up. So there's some like in the big cities, you might get like El Paso's one that in the past they've got 2 schools that are 5A Division I. Well, are they going to be in a district with Lubbock, with Midland Odessa, with Amarillo, to where, they're playing every game. They're having to travel 7 hours. Are they going to do that, or they can opt up to 6A and be in a district right there with other El Paso's, other schools in their school district? When they do that, then that bumps the number a little bit, because now you're going to, 2 schools opt up in El Paso. Well, that's going to bump the bottom 2 from 6A, and it's kind of a domino effect all the way down. So
because Fort Worth is a lot of opt-ups.
Fort Worth does that. Houston has done that in the past. So that's what a lot of times we don't know if they're that's not released. They just release their number in October, and then you don't know. Anyway, so there's a whole lot of that goes on. Carl Padilla is pretty good with it. The Dave Campbell's people, Matt Stepp at Dave Campbell's, they do a good job with it. They both are predicting us to be a 5A Division II, but then you've seen others that have predicted us to be a 5A Division I and going to El Paso for district games. I don't see the UIL doing that travel. That's a crazy amount of travel. Even if they did, I think there's the ability to do
for either part.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, I think there was a projection that had us with the Lubbock ISD schools going to 2 El Pasos. Well, we might go there once a year, but those El Pasos, they might have to come here 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, that's budget, that's safety.
100%.
There's all kinds of problems.
And I'm not going to say that they won't. The UIL's hands are tied sometimes on some of that stuff, but I would be very shocked if they did that. So we should know in the next week or so, okay, we're going to be a 5A Division I or a 5A Division II. And I think based on where everybody else falls, we'll have an idea of what our district will be and can kind of start planning. So the UIL doing that, where they release these numbers in late November, early December, really helps. It makes it a lot easier as we try to schedule and prep for next year. So
because you don't know your schedule for next year.
No, we don't.
Like really, none through the end.
Correct.
You don't know district, you don't know non-district, and okay, yeah, because these are 2-year agreements. So whenever you get a schedule, then it's going to be the opposite the following year.
Correct.
And all that. But yeah, you're in this kind of blind.
And if you do too much, then you get in a bind. Like there was one year I know that we anticipated. You looked at kind of who everybody would be with, and it looked like, okay, we'll be in a 6-team district. There'll be a 6-team district up north. We scheduled it that way. This was Coach Cat did this, and then all of a sudden we get the packet, and Plainview was kind of that one in the middle, and they sent them north and made a 7-team district, and we were in a 5-team. So then we had to scramble to find games real late. And anyway, it's always pretty fun to be at the service center when all that goes down.
Like a game, like
a
chess match. Yeah. And I'm guessing you don't have any preference. It's just like other than having to drive.
Right. Yeah, I would prefer to not do that.
Yeah, and they wouldn't want to do that either. But because we're talking Wichita Falls, we're talking Abilene, we're talking Amarillo or Canyon. There's all kinds of mixture, and then Lubbock, obviously. So you just don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, I don't think there's a.
Do you like a 6-team versus a 7-team or a 5-team? If you were like, okay, ideally this is what or does it matter to you?
The 6-team is nice because you do 5 non-district games and then you have an open week, and everybody has an open week right before district.
So it's just clean.
We were pretty fortunate in the 7-team that we had and it's a draw. It's a literal draw of a number, and our open week was right after non-district. Abilene High's one that their last week of the season was. It's brutal. So. That's what I like about a 6-team district. It makes it really even. Everybody has the same open week. There's no advantage one way or another. We're all open right before district, but it doesn't really. I'll take 4-team district and make the playoffs. we're locked in the playoffs.
That's what I get for asking, folks. That's what I get for asking. I lobbed it up and you hit it right in the gap.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. You have a lot coming back on your football team next year. It's a lot of key spots too, and there'll be some kids that depart that, boy, it's going to be hard to lose them. But this is kind of what your program is every year. But, boy, there's a lot back that I know you're excited about. But ultimately, what do you take away from this group of this team? And you'll get asked about this several more times, I'm guessing. But is there anything that you kind of go, man, this season I thought we were this, we ended up being that, or this is what this group – I don't know. Just sum it up if you can.
I thought the way, and we've talked about this. Our guys have talked about it that if you look at, and I'm looking, and really talking to our JV and our varsity guys, but if you look after Abilene Wiley week 3, our varsity's 1-2, our JV's 1-2. Looked a little different for both of them, but it's kind of that time. And I told the guys actually this morning. I said, in that time, I knew who they were. I mean, I've seen a lot of these kids play ball all the way through. I knew the type of kids they were. I knew we were going to be okay, but there's a little bit of but are we? And we're 1-2. We're about to go to Wichita Falls Rider, ranked top 10 in the state, who ended up winning 10 games this year. We were teetering right there on what it was going to be, and I was really proud of this team on how they responded, and to me, from that point on, what the team they were. And I think I mentioned it earlier, but we had some guys that were new that, and even if they weren't new to Lubbock Cooper, just new to the varsity, new to that dynamic and how to prep and how to mentally get ready for the grind of week in, week out. You gotta, if you have one week that you're not locked in, you're going to get beat. I mean, we played too good of teams, and I think just seeing how they meshed was impressive to me. And then we turn around, same thing, Abilene High, just a battle for the district championship, and you know how good they are. They're still playing. They're going to play this week, and we take a lead with 1 minute to go, and they end up on the right side of it with a touchdown with 4 seconds, and we made some changes after that, and I thought our guys responded well. And I think that's what was neat about this team is when people maybe outside of us thought you count them out, they're not, they can't get it done. And we had some games that there's outside influences that are really trying to get in their heads and do some things, and for them to be able to block all that out and just play really good football. And, I like to judge teams by, from day one when they show up in that first practice, and then at the end, how much did they improve? And I thought this team improved tremendously, and that's how I'll always remember them on their improvement on guys. I thought the injury bug hit us maybe more this year than it had in the past, and if you weren't watching our team every week, you might not have noticed because guys just step in, and to me that's just a sign of a good team, and that's what I'll remember a lot about them.
Yeah, which is quite a compliment about specifically your defense, because you mentioned Chris Carrillo a while ago, and he missed most of the season.
Yep.
And he was thought to be, he was a captain and thought to be one of your best players.
Yep.
And yet your defense, not a knock against Chris, it's just that the guys stepped up, and your defensive line was clearly one of the bright spots of your team this year. I guess I don't know if we'll talk before Christmas, but Merry Christmas. How was Thanksgiving?
You decorated beautifully, by the way.
I spent a lot of time on this. I don't even know if anybody on the camera, if the camera can see the.
They can't see
garland.
it.
You can't even see it, but there's I've got like sparkles and some glitter and exactly.
It's beautiful decorations.
We try to do good work here at Pirate Talk, man. I mean, my man Colton was in charge. He blew way past the budget. Just in case you're aware, he's behind the camera right there, taking care of us as always. Well,
is there a budget for this show?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yikes!
It's It's all right. Hey, man, appreciate the time.
Yeah,
all
bet.
season, always fun to visit with you. We will reconvene again soon. How about that?
Yep, sounds
there
good.
You go. Another edition of Pirate Talk for Chris Lovell, for Chip Darden, for Colton Coons. We'll talk to you next time.